G'day everybody. I've got Randal Koene here, who's coming to Australia, flying over. He is a Dutch neuroscientist, and he's going to be coming over to speak at the Singularity Summit, which is on August 18th and 19th, but also three pre-summit events, so that's four events in total. So why don't we start off by getting Randal to introduce himself and what he does?
Yes, hi. It's great to be here. Yeah, so as you already heard, I'm a neuroscientist, but what I'm actually doing is I run a nonprofit organization called carboncopies.org, and its mission is to put together and pull together all of the strands of what is needed to do what we call substrate independent minds. That's a goal to make the human species more adaptable to various challenges and environments by being able to take what is currently inside of our minds and move it to various other types of platforms. So being able to take that neural circuitry and run it on something else.
Excellent. So, the first event that Randall's going to be talking at and presenting at is at Monash University, Clayton. So we've got a number of interesting places over there. They've got a neuroscience division, but Randall's going to be speaking at the computer science division, and some people from ARMI, that's the Australian Regenerative Medicine Institute, will be coming along to that as well. So that's going to be on Wednesday the 15th. Now that's the talk there is going to be called System Identification in Neurocircuitry. What does that mean?
Yeah, system identification is a term that comes from control theory. It's an engineering term. And this is basically something that you do every time you analyze a system that you don't really know to begin with. So let's say you have a black box, you know that it receives input and it does something with it and produces output. That's the case no matter whether you're looking at a computer circuit or if you're looking at a biological system. So in this case, it's that we're trying to understand how does the brain do what it does? How can we transfer these functions to something else? So we need to understand and reverse engineer what's going on there, hence system identification.
Excellent. That should be fun. And the second event is a conversation. This is an interesting one. A conversation on transhumanism and posthumanism at the Cathedral. Now, this is all part of National Science Week. I forgot to mention that Randall will be in Australia for the National Science Week. And this is a Science Week event that we're co-organising with the Anglican Church, who are particularly interested and progressive about the scientific aspects of where we're going. So I think that will be very good. And who else is going to be talking? Stephen Ames, who's a professor in he's a professor in the philosophy of science, and also he studied physics. And who's the other person who's going to be speaking? I've got it here somewhere. Yeah, Michael. His name is Michael Arnold, and he's actually involved with, or he's a lecturer at Melbourne University, but he's also involved with IEEE, the division of the Society for Social Implications on Technology, along with Greg Adamson, who's spoken at the Singularity Summits in the past. So that should be interesting. Have you ever spoken at a cathedral before, Randall?
I've never had the opportunity to speak at a cathedral. That will be wonderful, actually. I've actually not even had that many opportunities to interact with social groups that are outside of, say, the technological, futurist-oriented, say, certain groups that tend to already be interested in what we talk about most of the time. Though I've had the opportunity to talk about the ethics behind what we do for a while, and that was a really good opportunity. So I'm looking forward to more of that.
Yeah, I think that will probably be we'll be talking about the possibilities, of course, with technology and extending human capability, but also I think the ethics will be a large proportion of that, I imagine. But yeah, I'm not creating the questions. I'm not really governing the panel there. It'll be very interesting. This is going to be at the massive chapel on the corner of Flinders and Swanston Street, which is probably the largest chapel and one of the oldest, in fact, one of the oldest buildings in Melbourne. It's It's quite amazing to see. I think Charles Babbage's cousin, his name is chiselled into the wall there, because he was one of the vicars or priests who helped build it back in the gold rush era of Australia.
Hmm.
So it's
Okay.
got a bit of history, that building, really it does. And the third thing is Randal's talk, possibly with Mark Pesce, at Embiggen Books on Friday, just before the Singularity Summit. And that's just going to be an introduction to what Randal does, and we've given that a title of Backing Up the Brain. So yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah,
So
that should be more general, I think. Yeah.
yeah, well, what do you mean when you say backing up the brain, and what can people expect?
Well, it's supposed to convey the notion that, of all the things that we have, of everything where we have information, the brain is probably one of the most valuable ones to us. It's where we have all of our precious memories and our characteristics. And when we have very valuable documents, we tend to try to do something like back them up, archive them, keep them somewhere safe. And we don't really do very much for the brain in that fashion. And we can see in cases of Alzheimer's what it means that we can't back that up. So I think it's an important topic to talk about.
Definitely. And lastly, but not leastly, is the Singularity Summit Australia. And we are really getting as much out of Randall as possible. He's giving 2 talks there, so in total, that's 5 talks, not to mention panels. So I imagine Randall will be flying back with a very sore throat.
Yeah,
Drink
I
lots of
suppose
water,
so. I'll
Randall.
try to stay away from coffee during that week. Well,
I don't
that'll
know
be
if
extra
that's going to be
hard because the
possible.
time zone change. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So the first talk that Randall's going to be talking about is substrate independent minds, which will probably, I imagine, be a more detailed version of what you're talking about at Embiggen Books. Is that correct?
Yeah, it'll go into some of the background as to why is it important, why would we want to do something like that. Then also the feasibility arguments. So how would you be able to do this with the kinds of technology we have available today by putting them together in interesting new ways? Just going through each of those parts. It's more the type of talk that I've been used to giving, but then I'll try to tailor it to the audience in Melbourne.
Yeah, sure. Well, Melbourne's got a host of biotech labs. I'm sure that it'll become more interesting as the weeks proceeding to the summit roll on. Um, yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this catching up and everything, and videoing all these things. So in time, a lot of these talks will be online for anybody who can't make it to Australia from overseas. But I do encourage anybody who is travelling this way to consider coming to one or all of these events. That'll be awesome. So,
Certainly look forward to this.
alrighty then. So, yeah, alright, thanks very much. Signing off and looking forward to seeing everybody at the summit.
See you there soon.
Cheers.